Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar meets Russian counterpart Sergey Lavrov in Moscow, discusses bilateral ties, global and multilateral issues, reviews preparations for the 23rd Annual India-Russia Summit. At COP30, India calls for developed countries to reach net zero earlier and deliver climate finance in trillions, says summit should be a COP of implementation and of delivery on promises. UN Security Council adopts US resolution on Trump's Gaza plan, authorizes transnational authority and international stabilization force for the enclave. Trump hails UNSC vote. National Investigation Agency arrests another key associate of Red Fort car blast accused, Jasir Bilal Wani, arrested from Srinagar. And in sports, four-time World Cup champion Germany and the Netherlands secure their berths in the 2026 edition with latest wins. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met his Russian counterpart Sergey Lavrov in Moscow. The leaders held discussions on bilateral partnership covering trade and investment, energy, mobility, agriculture, technology, culture and people-to-people exchanges. They also exchanged perspectives on regional, global and multilateral issues. Dr. S. Jaishankar and Lavrov also reviewed preparations for the 23rd Annual India-Russia Summit, set to take place in just 3 weeks from now.
This particular occasion, for me, is all the more important as we prepare for President Putin's visit to India for the 23rd Annual Summit. A number of bilateral agreements, initiatives and projects are under discussion in various fields. We look forward to the finalization in the coming days. This will certainly add more substance and texture to our special and privileged strategic partnership. We will also be exchanging views on the complex global situation with the openness that has always characterized our ties. This includes the Ukraine conflict as also the Middle East and Afghanistan, amongst others. India supports recent efforts towards establishing peace. We hope that all parties approach that goal constructively. An early cessation of the conflict and ensuring of an enduring peace is in the interest of the entire international community. India-Russia ties have long been a factor of stability in international relations. Its growth and evolution is not only in our mutual interest, but also in that of the world. I look forward to our discussions this evening. Thank you.
While here in New Delhi, Minister of Ports, Shipping and Waterways Sarbanand Sonowal held a meeting with President Putin's aide Nikolai Patrushev. The two sides had fruitful discussions on boosting maritime cooperation, enhancing connectivity and partnership in the Indo-Pacific and Arctic regions. The minister expressed confidence that the shared vision and long-standing friendship between the countries will further advance a strong, future-ready maritime collaboration between our nations. Under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, India-Russia relations continue to deepen, especially in the maritime domain. After Bangladesh's International Crimes Tribunal awarded death sentence to the country's former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, New Delhi said that India remains committed to the best interests of the people of Bangladesh. In a statement, India's Ministry of External Affairs said, and I quote, India has noted the verdict announced by the International Crimes Tribunal of Bangladesh concerning former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. As a close neighbor, India remains committed to the best interests of the people of Bangladesh, including in peace, democracy, inclusion and stability in that country. We will always engage constructively with all stakeholders to that end. And now we take a look at our next report on the entire judgment and Sheikh Hasina's stand on it.
Bangladesh's deposed Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was on Monday sentenced to death in absentia by a special tribunal for crimes against humanity committed during the widespread protests against her government in July last year. The three-member bench, led by Justice Mohammad Ghulam Murtaza Mazumdar, read from a 453-page judgment that found Hasina guilty of ordering action against protesters.
In view of all the above facts and circumstances and findings, it is hereby ordered that accused Sheikh Hasina be found guilty on 3 counts under charge 1. Count number 1, incitement. Count number 2, order to kill. Count number 3, inaction to prevent the atrocities and failing to take punitive actions against the perpetrators. And thus she is punishable.
Reading out the judgment before a heavily guarded courtroom in Dhaka, the tribunal said the prosecution had proved beyond reasonable doubt that Hasina was responsible for the deadly crackdown during the July uprising.
On the second count, killing 6 persons at Sankarpur of Dhaka, which was committed in contemplation, in furtherance, by virtue of her order, as stated beforehand. And similarly, she committed the same crime, that is the crime against humanity, on another count for causing the killings at Ashulia of Sabar, killing of 6 persons. For all these 3 counts, we have decided to inflict her with only 1 sentence, that is sentence of death.
Hasina condemned the ruling as biased and politically motivated, saying the trial conducted without her presence and with a state-appointed lawyer was unfair. She maintains she is willing to face a new trial under an international tribunal. Rabindra Chauhan's report, DD India.
India has issued an advisory on suspension of visa waiver facility extended to citizens travelling to Iran. The Ministry of External Affairs in a statement said that the attention of the government has been drawn to several incidents of Indian nationals being lured to Iran on false promises of employment or with assurances of onward transit to the third countries. Now, these individuals were tricked into journeying to Iran by taking advantage of the visa waiver facility available for ordinary Indian passport holders. On arrival in Iran, many of them were kidnapped for ransom. The government of Islamic Republic of Iran has accordingly suspended the visa waiver facility available to ordinary Indian passport holders visiting Iran with effect from 22nd of November this year. This measure is intended to prevent further misuse of the facility by criminal elements. From this date, Indian nationals with ordinary passports would be required to obtain a visa to enter or transit through Iran. All Indian nationals intending to visit Iran are strongly advised to remain vigilant and avoid agents offering visa-free travel or onward transit to third countries via Iran. Continuing with its probe in the Red Fort-era car bomb blast case, India's National Investigation Agency has arrested another key associate of the terrorist involved in the blast. Jasir Bilal Wani, alias Danish, also a Kashmiri resident, was arrested from Srinagar in Jammu and Kashmir. NIA investigations have revealed that Jasir had allegedly provided technical support for carrying out terror attacks by modifying drones and attempting to make rockets ahead of the deadly car bomb blast, which killed 10 persons and left 32 persons injured. The accused, a resident of Kazigund in Anantnag district of Jammu and Kashmir, was an active co-conspirator behind the attack and had worked closely with the terrorist Umar un-Nabi to plan the terror carnage. On Monday, NIA granted a 10-day custody of Umar's co-conspirator Amir Rashid Ali by the Patiala House Court. Kashmir resident Ali was arrested on Sunday. He reportedly conspired with Umar to carry out the terror attack. NIA continues to explore various angles to unravel the conspiracy behind the bombing. The Counter-Intelligence Kashmir on Tuesday launched coordinated pre-dawn raids at several locations across the Kashmir Valley as part of an ongoing terror conspiracy investigation. Official sources said that searches are underway in Srinagar, Anantnag and Kulgam. The operation is linked to a case involving a doctor currently under investigation. Sources added that the teams are also conducting searches inside the super specialty hospital at Shireen Bagh, Srinagar. Further details are awaited. Days after the election results, the process of forming the new NDA government in East Indian state of Bihar began on Monday after Nitish Kumar met Governor Arif Mohammad Khan and recommended the dissolution of the outgoing assembly with effect from November 19th. Meanwhile, newly elected Bharatiya Janata Party MLAs will hold a meeting on Tuesday to choose their legislature party leader in Patna. Newly elected MLAs of the NDA will meet in Patna on Wednesday to elect their leader. The meetings of the BJP and JDU legislature parties will also be held on Wednesday in Bihar's capital. As per the sources, the swearing-in ceremony of the next government in Bihar will take place in Patna on November 20th. The NDA secured a strong mandate in the Bihar elections, with both the JDU and BJP significantly improving on their 2020 performances. The BJP became the single largest party with 89 seats, followed by the JDU with 85. U.S. Representatives Ami Bera, the longest-serving Indian-American member of Congress, and Joe Wilson introduced a bipartisan resolution recognizing the strategic value of the historical partnership between the United States and India. The resolution underscores decades of deepening cooperation between two of the world's largest democracies across critical sectors, including defense, technology, trade, counterterrorism, and education. It also highlights India's vital role in promoting regional stability, economic growth, and a free and open Indo-Pacific. The measure calls for continued cooperation between the United States and India to confront 21st century challenges from counterterrorism and cyber threats to emerging technologies. It also recognizing the enduring people-to-people ties between the two nations, which continue to be strengthened by the Indian-American diaspora. The resolution has garnered strong bipartisan support with 24 total original co-sponsors. You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, aiming to curb drug trafficking, US acts tough against Mexico, threatening to launch strikes. Britain on way to make refugee status temporary to hasten deportation of illegal migrants. France's Louvre Museum closes dilapidated rooms as precautionary measures after the month-ago heist.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News. Let's get you more updates. United Nations Security Council on Monday voted in favor of Donald Trump's Gaza peace plan, which includes the deployment of international forces. 13 countries, including the UK, France and Somalia, supported the proposal at the UNSC vote. Russia and China abstained from voting. Here's more.
The UN Security Council has adopted a US resolution detailing the mandate for the Gaza International Stabilization Force outlined in Trump's ceasefire plan. The resolution was passed with 13 votes in favor and 0 votes against. It paves the way for the crucial next steps for the fragile ceasefire in Gaza. Russia and China abstained from the vote. Trump hailed the UN Security Council's vote, claiming it would lead to further peace all over the world.
The Board of Peace, and it's going to be comprised of myself and leaders of other very important nations and very respected nations, and it's going to be something I think is going to be very important. It was just approved. It was just endorsed by the United Nations. It was pretty great. It's a big thing. I think it's one of the most important things the United Nations will ever do, actually.
However, on the eve of the UN vote, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu restated his government's adamant opposition to the creation of a Palestinian state.
Our opposition to a Palestinian state in any territory west of the Jordan. This opposition exists is valid and has not changed one bit. I have been rebuffing these attempts for decades, and I am doing it both against pressure from outside and against pressure from within. So I do not need any affirmation, tweets, or lectures from anyone.
The resolution also welcomes the establishment of a Board of Peace as a transitional administration in Gaza. It authorizes the Board of Peace to establish a temporary international stabilization force in Gaza. Countries will contribute personnel to the force in close consultation with cooperation with Egypt and Israel. Hamas rejected the resolution, saying it failed to meet Palestinians' rights and demands. Anamika Pandey's report for DD India.
All right, DD India's Akshay Dongre joins us from New Delhi. Akshay, good morning. We've told a detailed report on the UNSC adopting the US resolution on Gaza stabilization. Now, help us understand how will this pan out, and what would be the challenges that will be faced in implementing this resolution.
Well, Preeti, as far as the situation is concerned in the region right now, we all have seen the kind of resolutions that have earlier come in, the kind of statements that have earlier come in, and many of them have not been implemented. Many had seen roadblocks either from Hamas or Israel. But the sort of resolution that has been passed by the United Nations Security Council this time around is different from the earlier ones, because it has a roadmap for not just the deployment of an international stabilization force, but also a board of peace that will have international players coming in to monitor the sort of implementation that has been required to implement a long-term peace in the conflict that has been going on for over 2 years now. The first most important thing is going to be the international stabilization force that will have personnel from different countries. They will be operating under the supervision of both Israel as well as Egypt. They will have forces from different countries. That means that, as far as neutrality is concerned, that can be observed. The world will have an eye on the sort of peace process that will take months, if not years, after the implementation of this force. The International Stabilization Force will also be training personnel of the Palestinian side that were earlier reporting to Hamas. That will also be that will also be operating under the Board of Peace that will have the US and several other nations to observe the sort of roadmap that has been given by this resolution to implement sort of a neutral force that will be observing that peace remains in the region. And the third, that is also quite an important thing, that is a part of the 20-point plan, is the reconstruction of Gaza. And after the devastation that has wreaked upon Gaza during this 2 years of war, will require a lot of reconstruction, a lot of funds that will be coming in from the World Bank as far as this 20-point program, 20-point plan rather, is concerned. These are the roadmaps. However, as you have rightly questioned about the hurdles, those still remain. That includes the disarmament of Hamas. That is a major demand of the Israeli side, but also the other hurdle is from the Israeli side as well in itself. We have seen the statement coming in from Benjamin Netanyahu. He's saying that the state still opposes the establishment of a state of Palestine. That is a sort of a friction that still remains. And the statement that has to be highlighted here is also Netanyahu's statement that no sort of a lecture or tweets are going to change the mind of the Israeli side as far as the decision on a Palestinian state is concerned, and their opinion as well. So yes, hurdles remain, but this is a positive development as far as the UN resolution is concerned. Though China and Russia abstained from voting, but that also helped in passing of the resolution, which could have been stopped by any veto coming in from either Russia or China. So it seems that the world is sort of united, after a long time in a permanent plan that is going to bring about a respite to not only the people of Gaza, but also the people of Israel, who have been facing, the destruction of this ongoing conflict that has been there for decades. And the situation can see some sort of a resolution in months to come.
All right, Akshay, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for joining in with those details. And in other news, the Republican-controlled U.S. House of Representatives will vote on Tuesday on forcing the release of investigative files on the late sex offender Epstein, with passage seen as all but guaranteed after President Trump dropped his long-standing opposition. Trump's reversal late on Sunday came days after a House petition gathered enough support to force a vote, a rare instance of House Republicans defying the president's wishes. U.S. lawmakers are bracing for a major showdown this week as the House prepares to vote on releasing long-sealed government files on convicted sex predator Jeffrey Epstein. The Epstein Files Transparency Act is expected to advance with a rare bipartisan backing after more than 100 Republicans joined Democrats in demanding the documents be made public. Lawmakers recently released a trove of emails obtained from Epstein's estate. In one such message, Epstein wrote that Trump spent hours with one of the victims at his house and another referred to the president as dirty. The revolt forced President Trump to reverse his opposition, saying lawmakers should vote for release, claiming he has nothing to hide.
Let the Senate look at it, let anybody look at it, but don't talk about it too much because honestly, I don't want to take it away from us. It's really a Democrat problem. The Democrats were Epstein's friends, all of them. And it's a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax. And I don't want to take it away from really the greatness of what the Republican Party has accomplished over the last period of time.
The call for release of files continues to gain momentum. Many more survivors have not intensified their appeal for the same. A new video has also surfaced featuring the survivors who have urged Congress to act. Many are addressing the media directly and asking for the release of the files.
So much pain. So much pain. So much pain.
I beg you to release these files once and for all. I mean, there is no valid reason for refusing to do so. So you can't claim that it is to protect the victims. I mean, when it is the victims, myself, and the victims that have been calling for the files to be released.
If the bill clears the House, it faces a tougher path in the Senate, and Trump could still veto it, but public and political pressure for answers continues to grow. Many MAGA supporters have voiced their opposition to his stance earlier, which many believe played a part in Trump's reversal vis-a-vis the issue of the release of Epstein files. Anamika Pandey's report, TD India. All right, moving on to Russia-Ukraine conflict, where Moscow continues to strike various cities of Kyiv. This time, Russian strikes hit eastern Ukrainian city of Balaklia that killed 3 people. The overnight attacks damaged multi-storied residence blocks and destroyed scores of cars in the city center. In search of more aid and ammunition, just after securing a 100 Rafale deal with France, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is now visiting Spain. In Spanish Parliament, Zelensky will meet with President of the Congress of Deputies of Spain, Francina Armengol, and President of the Senate of Spain, Pedro Rollin, in Madrid. United States President Donald Trump says that he will greenlight the sale of advanced F-35 fighter jets to Saudi Arabia, signaling a departure in how Washington handles sophisticated weapons transfers to Arab countries. Saudi Arabia has requested to buy as many as 48 F-35 fighter jets. The F-35 is widely regarded as the world's most advanced fighter jet, featuring technology that makes it difficult for enemy defenses to detect. Trump made the announcement on Monday at the White House, just one day before Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is due to visit.
No, I am planning on doing that, yeah. They want to buy it. You've been a great ally. They've got to like us very much. Look at the Iran situation, what we did in terms of obliterating, we obliterated their nuclear capability. Yeah, I will say that we will be doing that. We'll be selling F-35s here.
Attorney Gloria Allred and alleged Jeffrey Epstein victim Alicia Arden held a press conference on Monday urging Congress to release the investigative files on Epstein.
I suffered so much pain. So much pain. So much pain.
U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday again backed efforts by House Republicans to release files related to Epstein, calling it a Democrat problem and accusing prominent Democrats, including former President Bill Clinton, of ties to the late financier. U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday said that he would launch strikes against Mexico if it would not stop drugs from being trafficked into the United States. Speaking to reporters in the Oval Office, Trump answered a question about potentially striking Mexico or sending American troops into the North American nation by saying it would be, I quote him, okay with me.
Would I launch strikes in Mexico to stop drugs? It's okay with me. Whatever we have to do to stop drugs. Mexico is, look, I looked at Mexico City over the weekend. There's some big problems over there. If we had to, would we do there what we've done to the waterways? There's almost no drugs coming in through our waterways anymore. Isn't it down like 85%?
It is, sir.
U.S. President Donald Trump has said on Monday that he has not ruled out putting American forces on ground in Venezuela, while expressing willingness to hear directly from Nicolas Maduro regarding the Venezuelan leader's proposals to avert further U.S. military escalation.
Look, he's done tremendous damage to our country, primarily because of drugs, but really because we have that problem with other countries too. But more than any other country, the release of prisoners into our country has been a disaster. He's emptied his jails. Others have done that also. He has not been good to the United States. So we'll see what happens. At a certain period of time, I'll be talking to him.
Venezuelan President Maduro, when asked about Trump's comments on Monday, said that differences should be resolved through diplomacy and that he is willing to hold face-to-face talks with anyone interested.
We affirm that only through diplomacy should free countries and governments be understood, and only through dialogue should common ground be sought on issues of mutual interest. So this country is at peace, this country will continue to be at peace. And in the United States, anyone who wants to talk to Venezuela will talk face to face without any problem.
Britain announced plans to make refugee status temporary and accelerate the deportation of people who enter the country illegally on Monday. Britain's Labour government has introduced sweeping asylum charges designed to reduce abuse of the system and curb the growing influence of Reform UK, including extending the wait for permanent settlement from 5 to 20 years. The government warned it may impose visa bans on Angola, Namibia and the Democratic Republic of Congo if they refuse to take back illegal migrants and criminals. Under her proposals, the government wants to change the interpretation of Article 8 of ECHR so that family life is limited to immediate family members. Britain also plans to work with similar countries to reassess ECHR Article 3, arguing that its broadened definition of inhuman and degrading treatment makes deportation challenges too easy.
We must act too. We will do so by making refugee status temporary, not permanent. A grant of refugee status will last 2.5 years, not 5. It will be renewed only if it is impossible for a refugee to return home. Permanent settlement will now come at 20 years, not 5. Outside of the most exceptional circumstances, family reunion will not be possible, with a refugee only able to bring family over if they have joined a work and study route and if qualifying tests.
Just a month after a daring daylight heist exposed its security vulnerabilities, France's Louvre Museum has shut certain rooms exhibiting Greek vases, as well as some offices in a 1930s designed wing that is now in poor structural condition. The Louvre's recent closure highlights its urgent need for renovation. A technical inspection of the Louvre's Sully wing found weakened beams following a state audit that criticized the museum for neglecting security and infrastructure. As a result, the Campana Gallery has been closed along with the relocation of 65 staff members. Further inspections are underway to assess the full extent of the structural issues. On October 19th, $102 million in jewels were stolen from the Louvre in a daylight heist, and the Campana Gallery near the Apollo Gallery has since been closed. Up next, a short break. But after the break, India calls for renewed global cooperation to protect big cat species and their habitats as part of the integrated climate and biodiversity action at COP30. Australia and Turkey vie to host next year's UN Climate Summit COP31. And India signs landmark deal with British Museum to facilitate the return of the sacred Vrindavani Vastra to Assam.
The US launched a bombing campaign against Iran. The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you. You read between the lines, cut the clutter, and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DD India.
Welcome back. After the break, you're watching DD India News Hour. A quick relook at the top stories now. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar meets Russian counterpart Sergey Lavrov in Moscow, discusses bilateral ties, global and multilateral issues, reviews preparations for the 23rd Annual India-Russia Summit. At COP30, India calls for developed countries to reach net zero earlier and deliver climate finance in trillions, says the summit should be a COP of implementation and of delivery of promises. UN Security Council adopts US resolution on Trump's Gaza plan, authorizes Transitional Authority and International Stabilization Force for the enclave. Trump hails the UNSC vote. National Investigation Agency arrests another key associate of Red Fort card blast accused, Jasir Bilal Wani, arrested from Srinagar. And in sports, four-time world champions Germany and the Netherlands secure their berths in the 2026 edition with latest wins. India has urged developed countries to demonstrate greater climate ambition and honour their commitments while delivering the national statement at COP30 in Belém, Brazil. Union Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Bhupendra Yadav, called for COP30 to be remembered as a COP of implementation and a COP of delivery on promises. The minister conveyed India's appreciation to the government and people of Brazil for hosting COP30 in the heart of the Amazon. He further stressed the need for affordable, accessible climate technology and stated that climate technology must be free from restrictive intellectual property barriers.
Under the visionary leadership of Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, India has demonstrated successfully that development and environmental stewardship can advance in tandem. India's emission intensity has declined by over 36% since 2005. India's non-fossil fuel-based energy capacity, currently around 256 gigawatt, accounts for more than half of its total electric installed capacity. An NDC target achieved 5 years ahead of this schedule. Initiatives such as the International Solar Alliance and Global Biofuel Alliance have become global platform for performing affordable and clean energy.
The minister also addressed the high-level ministerial segment on the International Big Cat Alliance COP30. He called for renewed global cooperation to protect big cat species and their habitats as part of integrated climate and biodiversity action. The event was also attended by the Minister of Agriculture and Livestock, Government of Nepal, Dr. Madan Prasad Pariyar. The minister emphasized that ecological challenges today are deeply interconnected and require linked solutions. He informed the gathering about India's role as home to 5 of the world's 7 big cat species and outlined the country's major conservation successes. Yadav met UK Secretary of State for Energy, Security and Net Zero, Edward Miliband, on the sidelines of the COP30 summit and discussed various issues related to climate. The minister presented India's views on multilateralism, ecological protection and dealing with the vagaries of climate change at the session on Pioneer Progress, how India is powering the rapid rollout of renewable energy. India has been successfully decoupling economic growth from emissions, working with a clear understanding that economic activity and green growth policy work together. He highlighted the need for collaboration on climate resilience, particularly in the vulnerable regions. Addressing the Lead IT Industry Leaders Roundtable during COP30, Bhupendra Yadav underscored India's commitment to collaborative, technology-driven and sustainable industrial transitions under the Paris Agreement. He said that India continues to take forward ambitious domestic, regional and global initiatives spanning renewable energy, disaster resilience, biodiversity conservation and interventions in the industrial sector led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. As many as 18 industries and research institutions from India and Sweden will soon initiate projects involving value creation from industrial byproducts and gases, carbon capture and utilization, and artificial intelligence for process optimization, electrification and hydrogen-based industrial heating. Meanwhile, COP30 host Brazil on Monday extended negotiations into the night at the UN climate talks as they pushed for a rapid compromise among the countries very much at deep odds. Brazil's top goal for COP30 is to deliver an agreement that reaffirms the 2015 Paris Agreement, while acknowledging its shortcomings by laying out clear plans for future climate action. Following a difficult first week, Brazil set a deadline for nations to finalize a significant part of the negotiations by Tuesday evening for approval the following day. UN climate chief Simon Steele urged negotiators to tackle the hardest issues fast, to avoid going into overtime at the summit's close on Friday. Brazil's indigenous people took to the streets of Belém with global march "The Answer Is Us" on Monday. Demonstrators carried signs and chanted indigenous demands, which include the demarcation and protection of their ancestral lands. More than 3,000 indigenous people from various regions of Brazil are expected to attend COP30, which runs until November 21st. The protest underscores the stakes for indigenous communities as delegates gather to negotiate climate policies aimed at mitigating global environmental challenges. Meanwhile, Australia launched a last-ditch blitz on Monday to host the next year's UN Climate Summit. Australia's Climate Minister Chris Bowen said that his country was fighting hard to beat a rival bid from Turkey. The hosting feud between the two nations has loomed over the COP30 conference in Brazil, where Bowen tried and break the deadlock in the final days of the gathering. Turkey and Australia both want to host the 31st conference of the parties, but under United Nations rules, a winner can only be chosen by consensus, means unless one withdraws, both could miss out. Both countries insist they have the support needed and are refusing to back down. Pope Leo on Monday appealed for concrete actions on climate change and suggested that some leaders lacked the political will to act as he addressed the religious leaders on the sidelines of the COP30 summit. In a video message, Pope Leo said that Paris Agreement has driven real progress and remains our strongest tool for protecting people and the planet. The Pope's message reflected mounting concern about flagging international ambition and rising greenhouse gas emissions a full decade after the 2015 Paris Agreement.
The Paris Agreement has driven real progress and remains our strongest tool for protecting people and the planet. But we must be honest. It is not the agreement that is failing. We are failing in our response. What is failing is the political will of some. True leadership means service and support at a scale that will truly make a difference. Stronger climate actions will create stronger and fairer economic systems. Strong climate actions and policies both are an investment in a more just and stable world.
Back home, Air India has announced the resumption of its non-stop flights between Delhi and Shanghai from February next year, marking Air India's return to mainland China after nearly 6 years. Subject to the requisite regulatory approvals, Air India also intends to introduce non-stop flights between Mumbai and Shanghai in 2026. Air India will operate 4 times a week between Delhi and Shanghai using its twin-aisle Boeing 787-8 aircraft. The reinstatement of Air India services to Shanghai follows recent India-China diplomatic agreements that restored the air links paused in early 2020. Air India first launched non-stop services to mainland China in October 2000. Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma of Northeast Indian state of Assam signed a memorandum of understanding and a letter of intent on Monday with the British Museum in London to repatriate the sacred Vrindavani Vastra under an 18-month loan arrangement starting in 2027. This 15th century textile masterpiece, created by Saint Reformer Mahapurush Srimanta Sankardev, depicts the 10 incarnations of Lord Krishna, his childhood scenes, and Ras Leela with the gopis. It embodies Assam's Vaishnava cultural heritage and intricate craftsmanship. The British Museum, led by Director Dr. Nicholas Cullinan, agreed to the loan contingent on Assam constructing a specialized museum meeting environmental standards. The Assam Chief Minister hailed the pact as a red letter moment and credited Prime Minister Narendra Modi for inspirational guidance, emphasizing development and heritage as governance pillars. A state-of-the-art museum will honor this Assamese symbol of devotion.
The Vrindavani Vrasta is not just an old textile preserved behind glass. It is a part of our collective memory. Generations have sung about it in Kirtan, taught their children about it, and carries its stories in their hearts without ever having seen it within their own eyes. It represents the high point of our devotional art and includes the spirit of Sankardeva's message. It is also signifies the deep bond between faith and craftsmanship in our society. That is why the prospect of welcoming the Vastra, even for a limited period, evokes such strong emotion in Assam. It feels like the homecoming of an ancestor.
The 4th India International Trade Fair is underway at Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi. The theme for this year's fair is Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat. During the event, Union Minister for Civil Aviation Ram Mohan Naidu inaugurated the Airports Authority of India Pavilion in the gracious presence of Vipin Kumar, Chairman, Airports Authority of India, and board members of Ministry of Civil Aviation, Government of India and AAI, showcasing India's aviation excellence and airport infrastructure. Union Minister of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Jitan Ram Manjhi inaugurated the MSME, KVIC and COIR pavilions at the 44th Trade Fair. They also visited various stalls in the pavilion, interacted with exhibitors, witnessed live demonstration of various traditional manufacturing processes and encouraged the participants. The Bihar Pavilion also stands out with its extensive display of Madhubani paintings which adorn the entire space. Spread across 2 sections, the pavilion features bangles, fabrics, wall hangings, decorative items and more. Also at the trade fair, artisans like Sharif Khan from Indore are showcasing innovative crafts, turning waste materials like discarded leather and paper into attractive toys. India's central state of Chhattisgarh has rolled out a new scheme to lure Maoists into the mainstream. The government has launched Cafe Pandum in Bastar region to provide training and employment opportunities to those who have surrendered. Here's a report from Ground Zero. Take a look.
In a bid to bring Maoists into mainstream, Chief Minister of Indian state of Chhattisgarh, Vishnu Deo Sai, has inaugurated Cafe Pandum in the Bastar region to provide employment opportunities. The Chhattisgarh Chief Minister extended his best wishes and stated that the government aimed to support individuals affected by Naxalism or those who have surrendered. The government is committed to assist former Maoists by offering skill development programs.
सरकार का प्रयास है कि जो भी नक्सल पीड़ित हैं या आत्मसमर्पित हैं उनके साथ सरकार अच्छा करेगी, उनको स्किलिंग करा के उनको रोजगार से जोड़ने का काम करेगी। तो उस दिशा में एक अच्छे पहल की यहाँ पर शुरुआत हुई है।
Former Naxalites expressed happiness about their new life and thanked the government for integrating them into the mainstream.
2016 को समर्पण किया। समर्पण करने के बाद हमको यहाँ अभी फिलहाल ट्रेनिंग दी गई हॉस्पिटैलिटी का। हॉस्पिटैलिटी का ट्रेनिंग के बाद हमको यहाँ पंडुम कैफे में अभी हमको जॉब दी जा रही है। इसके लिए मैं बहुत खुश हूँ। उसको थैंक यू, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ शासन प्रशासन को।
The scheme provides a new lease of life to those extremists who have laid down their arms and seek a new beginning in life. Bureau Report, DD India.
You're watching DD India News. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, US stocks fall as investors await economic data. Shooting World Championship in Egypt comes to a close with Indian shooters claiming 13 medals. The 4-day cultural extravaganza Chilika Sheldag International Folk Carnival to conclude in Odisha. Stay with us for a sneak peek.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Johar.
Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News. Let's turn focus to business updates now. The US stocks continued their recent sell-off with all the three major indices ending lower as investors braced for a week of accelerated economic data releases following the longest government shutdown in the US history. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 1.18%. The S&P 500 dropped 0.92%, while the Nasdaq Composite slid 0.84%. Investors are closely watching Nvidia, which is set to report quarterly earnings on Wednesday. The company's performance will be seen as a barometer for demand in the artificial intelligence sector, which has driven much of the recent market rally. European stocks also declined as leaders stayed cautious. In fact, traders stayed cautious ahead of the upcoming US jobs data. The pan-European Stocks 600 index lost 0.54%, while the FTSE Euro First 300 index fell 0.55%. In Asian markets, South Korea's Kospi, Japan's Nikkei, Shanghai's SSE Composite Index and Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index were trading sharply lower. India's benchmark indices Sensex and Nifty also declined in early trade on Tuesday due to emergence of profit-taking in tandem with a weak trend in global equity markets. Under mounting pressure from Americans worried about inflation, US President Trump addressed franchise owners, suppliers and operators, touting how his administration is working to lower costs for everyday Americans. At the McDonald's summit, Trump highlighted the importance of the chain's historically cheap meals and how American consumers are counting on the fast food company to provide deals amid rising food prices. Trump appealed directly to the nation's largest fast food chain in a speech that offered no new initiatives but touched on military attacks on Iranian nuclear facilities, to his personal devotion to McDonald's products and his renaming of the Gulf of Mexico.
I want you to know that I'm fighting every day to support small businesses like yours and the citizens that we all serve. And together we're fighting for an economy where everyone can win, from the cashier starting her first job to a franchisee opening his first location to the young family in a drive-through line. I've been on that line many times. My pledge to every family and every small business is that I will not rest until you are richer, stronger, more successful, happier, till you've gotten a piece of the American dream.
Up next, we turn focus to sports. When we talk of sports, then Indian shooters Anuya Prasad and Pranjali Prashant Dhumal claimed gold and silver medals in the 10 meters air pistol event at the 25th Summer Deaflympics in Tokyo. Anuya Prasad also broke the Deaf final world record en route to winning the gold, and Pranjali broke the qualification world record to book her place in the finals. Mehla Sami of Iran won the bronze. In the men's event, Abhinav Deshwal shot 235.2 points to win the silver medal. Deshwal, who equalled the qualification world record, took India's shooting medals tally to 7 after 2 days of competition. Olympian Gurpreet Singh bagged a silver medal on the final day of the Shooting World Championship in Egypt. Gurpreet came agonizingly close to becoming the world champion in the 25-meter center fire pistol event, losing out on the gold medal by a whisker in Cairo. This was Gurpreet's second individual medal at the championships, following the silver in the 25-meter standard pistol event at the 2018 edition. Indian shooters ended their campaign with a rich haul of 13 medals, including 3 golds, 6 silvers and 4 bronze medals. They finished in third place behind China and South Korea. Grandmaster Arjun Erigaizi kept India's challenge alive at the FIDE World Cup 2025 in Goa, holding Chinese star Wei Yi to a confident 31-move draw in their quarter-final opener. The Indian prodigy showed superb preparation in the Rai Lopez closed system, maintaining a time edge throughout and simplifying into a drawn rook and pawn ending. With the white pieces in Game 2, he now has a golden chance to press for victory and move closer to Vishwanathan Anand Cup final and a candidate's 2026 berth. 4 times World Cup champion Germany finally secured their place in the 2026 edition with a 6-0 rout over Slovakia. It will be Germany's 21st appearance at the tournament, with only 2 editions the country has missed. In the inaugural 1930 World Cup, it did not enter, and in 1950, it was not allowed to participate. The road was dramatic for Germany, which opened their Group A play with a loss to Slovakia. They recovered from only their 3rd loss ever in World Cup qualifying to reel off 5 consecutive victories. Germany only needed a draw to secure a spot in the 2026 World Cup, but they put the game out of Slovakia's reach with 4 goals in the first half. 3 times World Cup runners-up, the Netherlands also secured a berth at the 2026 finals with an early 4-0 victory over Lithuania, finishing top of Group G. The victory margin could have been even bigger, such was the Dutch dominance, but the result ensured they completed the campaign 3 points clear of second-placed Poland. The unbeaten Netherlands finished on 20 points. The Olympic torch will go on a 12,000 kilometers journey across Italy in the 2 months leading up to the Winter Olympics in February next year. The torch relay will begin on 26th of November when the flame is lit in Olympia, the green home of the ancient games. The flame will be handed over to Italian officials in Athens on 4th of December, and it will begin its Italian trip from Rome 2 days later. The relay will start each day at 7:30 a.m. local time and conclude around 12 hours later with the lighting of the cauldron in the final city of the day. It will conclude in Milan, entering the San Siro Stadium on the evening of February 6th. The games will be co-hosted by Milan and the Dolomite Resort of Cortina d'Ampezzo and will run from 6th to 22nd of February. Some of the world's best tennis players will be in action as the quarterfinals of the Davis Cup begin in Italy today. The tournament kicks off with France taking on Belgium in Bologna City. Defending champions Italy will be in action on Wednesday when they face Austria. The host nation will look to defend their title without world number 2 Jannik Sinner or world number 8 Lorenzo Musetti, as both pulled out of the competition. World number 1 Carlos Alcaraz is expected to feature for Spain when they face the Czech Republic on Thursday. The final quarter pits Argentina against world number 3 Alexander Zverev and Germany also on Thursday. The Davis Cup final is slated for Sunday. And now changing track from sports, the 11th Srilika Shaldak International Folk Carnival will conclude in Odisha's Khordha city on Tuesday. The 4-day carnival, being organized on the theme Martial Dance of Asia and Oceania, is a cultural extravaganza that celebrates the rich heritage of India and South Korea. Alright, with that we end this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can download the respective QR codes. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.